Here's the city employees following their direction, you know.
I agree, and I'm just a citizen protecting my property.
A refusal to let Naperville city employees install a new wireless smart meter ended with the slicing of steel cable, a last attempt to keep it from happening.
You step over here, you're under arrest.
And homeowner Jen Stahl being led away in handcuffs. She's one of several hundred Naperville residents opposed to the new wireless meters to read electricity. Their 2-year battle with the city came to this: Naperville workers hopping fences onto private property and installing the meters anyway.
Get off my property right now. No! No!
Kim Bendis shot that video at her home. Hours later, she was arrested while shooting video at Jen Stahl's house.
Okay, I warned you the first time. We'll call a flag car and take her place under arrest.
Bendis and the other smart meter opponents say privacy, security, and health concerns about the meter's radio frequency are the basis for their fight. There's a pending federal lawsuit against Naperville about the meters, too.
The city is absolutely within its rights,
says Naperville City Manager Doug Krieger, and he says the city intends to finish installing them this month. In a nutshell, they call the city of Naperville a bunch of bullies.
We absolutely are not bullies. I believe we've bent over backwards to accommodate them.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to GGN. This is part 3 for this news report today. Hopefully it should be the last one. I got some more interesting articles here for you. What I found kind of intriguing is the comment that he made, or the quote that official from the city of Naperville, which is, "The city is well within its rights." I mean, it's almost as if they're speaking about an actual person. And what is the city of Naperville? Someone pointed that out to me recently, which is very interesting because, you know, talking about Chicago, the city of Chicago things, the city of Chicago this. And really, they're supposed to represent the people, right? At least that's what we think. But if these people don't want these meters on their home, then why are they being forced by the city, who supposedly represents the people, to do that? Like they said, they intend to just go ahead and do it anyways by force. That right there is force that they're using to install these things, which invades people's privacy and could actually cause, they do cause health concerns. They don't just emit electromagnetic frequencies, electromagnetic radiation, but they also blow up. They set on fire. So it just makes you wonder, you know, the city of Chicago, the city of Naperville, like, whenever you hear that, you got to remember this is a completely separate entity from the people. And somebody's running it, right? Somebody's pushing it in a certain direction and asserting its rights. Whoever has control of those cities. That's why, you know, you got Hong Kong, you got London, Taiwan, Moscow, New York, Brussels. These are all, I personally believe, they're all just own private cities for the elites. And all these little subsidiaries are like basically corporations. That's why they even call them corporations. In schools, they call them incorporated and stuff like that. But the thing is like these people said that, you know, this is my property. But really, like I said before, as long as you keep paying taxes, you have to pay taxes to these people, or to this person, to this entity known as the city of Naperville, then it's technically their property, or the state of Illinois' property. So. But I think nothing's going to really change until people start to break through that illusion, is what it really is, an illusion, that they have choices and that they're free, right? Because if they have choices, then they could do all sorts of, pick different utility companies. They can do a hybrid of their own off-the-grid, on-the-grid type setup. They're coerced into this conglomerate company that basically lobbied enough money to the state of Illinois, to the city of Naperville, you know, basically so that they can charge whatever the hell they want. It's similar to these gardens, people growing gardens in their front yards and stuff like that, until they understand that it's not technically, you know, legally it's not their property. Then, you know, it's like, again, choose your battles wisely, right? If enough people realize this, then we won't have, you know, this passive type of resistance could actually work. But in that case, when it's just you and maybe one other person, I mean, that's not going to really do much. Google is building a private wireless network at headquarters, which makes some wonder what it's up to. So they're creating their own experimental wireless network for their headquarters in Mountain View, California. So they asked permission from the FCC to set up an experimental radio service within a 2-mile radius of its headquarters, using frequencies incompatible with virtually every mobile device on the market. So, you know, I've heard this before. about, oh, internet will eventually be free, and it won't be free because it'll be funded by taxpayers, but it'll be offered as free Wi-Fi, free internet, but it'll be highly controlled. Well, ever since the internet's been, at its birth, at its infancy, it's always been at least tracked or monitored. As far as controlled, like uncontrolled, well, I don't know if that'll ever actually happen. A lot of it will be voluntary, and a lot of it will be kind of behind the scenes. But one thing that I'm realizing is if they do this kind of nationalized free internet, it will be Wi-Fi most likely. These Ethernets I prefer. I don't have it now, but it's just like just something about Wi-Fi. Besides it being unhealthy, it just also seems very unsecure. Also, if you think about it, just noticing when it was snowing, what did you have? You had, our Wi-Fi signals going weaker during that snowstorm. So Wi-Fi, I mean, the weather affects it, whereas if you have an Ethernet cable that's buried in the ground, it's going to be a little more reliable. All right, Google faces legal action over alleged secret iPhone tracking. So Google is facing a fresh privacy battle in the UK over its alleged secret tracking of the internet habits of millions of iPhone users. 10 million Britons could have grounds to launch a privacy claim over the way of Google. Circumvented Apple security settings on the iPhone, iPad, and desktop version of a Safari web browser to monitor their behavior. Then we have America to archive all tweets. So this is just like, to monitor their behavior, to monitor their tweets, right? Archive all tweets. They have the infrastructure now to do this, to store every single phone call, every single email and stuff like that. And they'll build algorithms off that, and they'll be able to predict what you're going to do. That's what it's all about. Predictive, making people very predictable, so you can easily manage them. 133,000 gigabytes worth of tweets currently takes days to search, but the Library of Congress is nonetheless trying to archive American Twitter used for, what is that? Posterity, okay, whatever. So they're going to be assembling all of the 400 million tweets sent by Americans each day in the belief that each of the many messages reflects a small but important part of the National Archive or narrative, saying that the element of their mission of the Library of Congress is to collect the story of America and to acquire collections that will have research value. We have Twitter must identify racist tweets authors, says French court. French court has ruled that Twitter must help police to identify the authors of racist or anti-Semitic tweets. The ruling follows a legal complaint lodged by France's Union of Jewish Students that racist tweets have breached French law. They ruled Thursday that Twitter must identify the authors of these racist tweets within the framework of the French site. Twitter has 15 days to comply with the order, after which it will be fined €1,000 a day until it does. The Jewish Student Union had been pressing Twitter since October to exercise greater control of what was allowed on the site after a string of anti-Semitic tweets, although Twitter later removed the offensive messages. So where everybody else, or a lot of people, are getting victimized and nothing actually happens as far as justice, the system works for some groups. This is an excellent ruling that will stop a feeling of impunity among Twitter users that can post whatever comments they like, the student unionist lawyer said. So next up, we have law enforcer misuse of driver database soars, so not a very big surprise, but Florida's driver and vehicle database, known as David, says here, the system that can help law enforcement identify victims of fatal crashes and decipher the identity of a suspect, I don't know how they do that, can be used a useful tool for cops, but they say it's being easily abused. It said a nearly 400% increase from 2011 of abuse. They needlessly pull information of photographs from this database that would otherwise be private and could face criminal charges, sanctions, or disciplinary actions. Said, and yet the temptation of looking up a relative, celebrity's address, or romantic interest is too great for some law enforcement officers. This is a perfect opportunity to make this point here. I was another show that's out there is Homeland. I think it won some awards, and like one of the main guys is actually British. I didn't even know that. Seems to be the common thing now. These guys, you see them in all these shows, big propaganda, and then they start talking like this. Yeah, I'm actually British. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, I fooled you. But is this other movie about the guy that plays Captain Kirk, the young Kirk in Star Trek, and then it has the guy, Bane from Batman. and they're supposed to play like these CIA agents, and it's with Reese Witherspoon, so you probably know what I'm talking about. But anyways, they're like sitting there at work, and they're all like doing this data mining. They're making it all like in the movies about how cool it is to be a CIA agent now, because before it's always kind of just, ooh, what's he doing? Ooh, he's a secret spy. Now it's just out in the open, and they do this a lot in the media, where they make it seem like, oh yeah, you're gonna be able to access these, you're gonna access this database so that you can hook up with this girl, get all of her private information. But it doesn't work that way. You try doing that in real life, and you'll get effed up, right? Because people think that, oh, this is the people's database. No, it's not. This is used. It's from a top-down. It's a top-down database, and it's made to go from the top down. So you at the bottom, you're just a pawn. Whether you're a cop or whatever. It's not made for you to be doing personal business with. That's why they'll actually crack down on you. Not because they actually care about justice, but because you're not authorized. Like this individual was looking up a local bank teller he was reportedly flirting with. It just makes me sick. Like with Argo and Ben Affleck and the whole propaganda of the CIA. So you can go there and check it out. Links will be posted. I'm going to keep moving pretty fast here. LAPD uses anti-terrorism device to track cell phone users, basically tricking, saying that it's a cell tower and fools wireless phones that establish a connection. Then it downloads information of people who are not suspects in investigation. DNA gun will tag felons for a week. Fire these non-lethal pellets and marks its target with DNA for later identification. And I guess this is synthetic DNA. Privacy Visor blocks facial recognition software. A pair of glasses dubbed the Privacy Visor has been developed to thwart hidden cameras using facial recognition software. Go in there and check it out. Links will be posted. Good chance that it'll be used by special tactical forces, kind of like down in Mexico where they wear the ski masks. So kind of like tinted windows for cops, but slaves can't have them. Armed drones could target the CEO, former U.S. intelligence chief says as the technology of these drones spreads around the world, terrorists could use the unmanned missile-firing aircraft to attack and kill the president and other U.S. leaders. So God forbid, right? 17 killed in 4 straight days of U.S. drone strikes in Yemen, just like in Pakistan. But this guy will be willing to carry out drone strikes against American people if he thinks that they're, quote, terrorists. Shock claim Obama removing all military leaders from command if they will not fire on U.S. citizens. So it's not some obscure personality, says none other than a Nobel Peace Prize nominee Jim Garrow, who made the shocking claim on his Facebook page, saying it was the Obama regime's litmus test for new military leaders is whether or not they will follow orders to fire on American citizens. Another general has been removed. So word on the National Security Street is General James Mattis is being given the bum's rush out of his job as commander of Central Command and is being told to vacate his office several months earlier than planned. So if you do make it to the kill list, you might get fried here. It says here DARPA putting laser turrets on fighter jets next year. But I also saw an article about them putting these laser turrets on drones as well. So the big drone strikes. Israeli officials meet and threaten Syria attack. The vice president vows war at first sign of chemical weapons moves. This is kind of interesting, right? Israeli officials held a private meeting discussing the possible preemptive attack on war-torn Syria over these chemical weapons. It's interesting because this unconfirmed leaked document indicates Washington approved Qatari-funded false flag attack using Libyan chemical weapons in Homs, Syria. Is the UK defense contractor planning a Syrian weapons of mass destruction false flag? This is what I remember I talked about, the whole thing with this chemical weapons. So this could be disinfo, who knows? You can go there and check it. But the interesting thing is that it won't just be tied to Hezbollah, they want to tie it to Russia. Remember, I just covered on Friday about how the weapons that were used in Algeria by terrorists were supposedly from Libya. The weapons that are used in Syria are actually coming from Libya, and that the whole thing around the Benghazi attack was about CIA funneling weapons to these terrorists. We'll have to deliver a chemical weapon to Homs, a Soviet origin from Libya, similar to those that Assad should have. They want us to deploy our Ukrainian personnel that should speak Russian and make a video record. Netanyahu, post-election, deploys Syrian Iron Dome system as Israeli minister claims U.S. preparing surgical strikes against Iran. Again, more headlines, but we'll see. Again, the biggest wild card, of course, are these things aimed at Russia. like the Patriot missiles that they deployed on the Turkish border. And even though Iran's Ahmadinejad never said that they were going to wipe them off physically off the map, they just said that the state was illegitimate of Israel. Netanyahu says Iran preparing for another Holocaust, like the one that was carried out by the U.S. and Iraq, which was backed by the U.S. Zionists massacred the Jews all across the globe. That's what we know. Obama vows never again on Holocaust Memorial Day. It's interesting because a rabbi says Zionists were spiritually and physically responsible for the Holocaust. This is GGN. Thank you.